We have a 2001 Audi S4 2.7 liter turbo. Today we're going to show you how to change the valve stem seals without removing the cylinder head. As you see, we removed the valve cover already, some of the intake piping. So we have a problem with this valve over here. The very first one, the head was freshly rebuilt. Machine shop kind of messed up the valve seal, and now we have to change it. There's two ways of doing it. Number one, you could set the piston all the way down and remove the camshafts and pump the air through the spark plug hole into the piston to keep the valve shut. However, if you do something improperly and pressing the valve a little too hard, you could drop the valve into the engine and you will have to remove the cylinder head. So we're gonna try to remove the valve spring and retainer with the piston all the way up, so the valve have nowhere to go. You gotta be very careful not to damage the valve when you're doing that. So watch further down. So number one, what you have to do is we're working on cylinder number one. We're gonna set it on top dead center, so the piston is gonna be at the very top of the stroke, and we're gonna start working on the valve. But if you're working on other cylinders, you're gonna have to make sure that the piston is at the top. It will not be at the top dead center. It's gonna be, you're gonna have to manually check so the piston at the top. We're gonna mark the timing chain. We're gonna put our own marks in there just to make sure it stays at the same spot, because we're gonna have to remove the camshaft right now. You have to install the camshaft adjuster tensioning tool. Don't go too crazy on it. Remember, as soon as this bottoms out, stops, don't force it, or you're gonna break these lips off, and then you're gonna need a cam adjuster. See, the chain is loose now. Now we're gonna be able to remove the intake cam. We like it that the faulty valve seal is at the intake cam, not an exhaust. We're gonna have to remove the timing belt. If it would be on this side and the exhaust side, then you will have to remove the timing belt and go on from there. Remove the cam position sensor. Make sure you don't drop anything, any bolts into the head or anywhere between the moving parts. Remove the front cam cap. And start removing the other cam caps inward. So basically the ones on the outside first, and working it into the center. Remove the bolts out of a camshaft adjuster. See over here, we're removing only one cam cap of exhaust cam, just to make some space for the tensioner to be removing the tensioner. So remove one cap, do not touch. Oh yeah, and this car does not have the secondary air injection. If you have a newer 2.7 liter, you will have a secondary air injection combi valve over here. You probably have to remove that as well to get the tensioner out. When you're reassembling it, remember the cam caps go from the back to the front. So this is number 2. This is number 4. Don't mess them up. Better off just know the location of the cam cap so you don't mess them up when you're putting it back in, because they machine to the head and you cannot misplace them. Just take them off and put them as they were in the head, somewhere on the cardboard, let's say, like this. It's gonna be easier that way. Now be very careful, don't damage anything. Don't force the camshaft out, just go nice and easy. You could leave the tensioner sitting there. You don't have to take it all the way out. You're gonna have to replace that gasket later on. But here you go. Remove the camshaft. Now take the lifters out. Make a note on everything you're doing in there to put it back as it was in the head. It's better off if you put the parts back exactly in the spot where they were. We have our spring compressor tool over here. Our spring compressor tool in place, installed. So we're going to be pressing really gently on it. You gotta watch the valve. If the valve goes down, just play around with it so you don't damage the valve. Now you're gonna have to take the magnet and get the valve keepers out. You might have to take the magnet and pull the valve up a little bit, because when you're pushing it down, you might push the valve down as well.
Нажмите. Все. Все? А ну отпусти. Окей, теперь нажму. Оп, отлично.
Just grab a magnet and pull the valve keepers out. And slowly release the spring. Alright. Yep, as you see, little damage in the valve seal, valve stem seal, and that's what was causing our oil leak into the cylinder. See over here? Gonna have to fight with that machine shop. Now we have this little tool we came up with special for Audi to get the valve seals off, because none of the other regular tools to get the valve seals off, they don't work on these cars. They're too big. Yep. You pull the seal off and you're all set. See, as a and we're gonna change all 3 seals just in case, and hopefully it's gonna work fine. So we got all 3 springs and retainers off, as well as the keepers. We're gonna replace all 3 valve seals and assemble it back. Hopefully it's gonna work fine. We got our new valve stem seals over here. We're gonna install them. If you get a head gasket set and valve seals, like valve stem seals come with it, they're gonna have a little plastic sleeve to put on top of the valve so you don't damage the seal when you're putting it on. We got the seals separate, so we don't have it. You gotta be very easy going on it. Make sure you don't damage the sealing lip right there inside that lip over there, because the little grooves for the valve keepers, they very sharp. They have very sharp edges, and they could cut that lip off, and you're gonna have the same problem. So lubricate the seal inside and gently put it on. Okay, so we have our seal. Be very gentle with it. Make sure you don't bend it. If you bend it out of shape, it won't work properly. Just put it on there. Be very careful putting it on. We have the seals in there. Now they have to be packed onto the valve guide so they don't fall off and seal properly. To pack the seals up down onto the valve guide, we have this little multi-point 10mm socket. The seal goes in there, and the metal ring around the seal bottoms out of the socket, so you don't push down on the rubber part. Make sure when you do this, don't over force it. You bend this thing over here, you screwed. So be very careful. Just put the socket on top of the seal like this. Hold it straight up and hit it with the pliers or something. Don't hit it with the hammer. Hammer's too heavy for it. So with the plier, just a little bit, it's gonna go down just under 1/4 of an inch, and you're gonna feel when it's gonna bottom out at the valve guide. As soon as you feel that, don't go any further. You're right there. Just take a magnet, pull all the valves up. When you put the valve seal in, look from the side. There are little openings on the side over there. The valve guide has a little step on it. Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it from here. See, our seal is right there, and then there's a step under the seal. So our goal is for the valve seal to bottom out at that step. As soon as it's done that, stop hitting it. They're gonna stay up because the seal is gonna be holding it. So, and then you could put the spring in and the retainer. So we got our springs and retainers in. See, the retainers, they don't align with the valves exactly. So when we're gonna put our spring compressor on it first, before pressing it down, we're gonna have to align it so the valve is not gonna get touched by the retainer when it's going down when you're pressing it. Because if you do that, then if it's gonna go down, you're gonna need to pull it up somehow, and it's gonna be a little pain. So align it properly, and you should be fine. Now we have our little pick over here. We're gonna put the valve keepers in with this pick. What we do, we put on a magnet to magnetize the tip of the pick, so you could carry the valve keeper in there to the right spot, and so you could manipulate the valve keeper without having a bunch of tools in there. Okay, so put our spring compressor back in. Now we need to align the valve with the hole in the valve keeper. Oh no, not the keeper, the retainer. Exactly. And we're going to be pressing slowly and gently, making sure that the valve does not go down. Grab one of the valve keepers, lower it in there, and manipulate it with the pick to get into valve grooves. There is 2 grooves on each keeper, so make sure that it sits in the proper groove, and the keepers are conical shape. The thinner part of it goes down. Also, to make sure not to let go of the valve spring compressor while working on it. It's better off to have 2 people doing it because it's just easier that way.
Он сел, да? Ну.
Be very gentle, very careful, and very patient. There you go.
Bingo.
We got one of them, and
2 more to go.
check to see that the valve keepers are sitting exactly the same, one and the other. The right spot, nothing's kinked, nothing's crooked, and go to the next one.
Куда он выпал?
Смотри, Саня, глазами пидорасти, ты знаешь, да? Все. Ну, будет легче, тут не подойдет.
Ой, у нас это. When you do this, you gotta work like a team. Help each other. the one with the spring compressor. Gotta
Don't breathe.
play around and keep the valve keeper in place.
And keep the camera in focus.
It's like a surgery. Open heart surgery.
Okay. Yep.
We got it. Alright, we got all three retainers in, valve keepers and everything is in place. Now put the lifters back in and reassemble everything else. Oh yeah, one more thing, when you're doing this sort of thing, make sure your injectors are in. Well, we don't have our injectors in, but you make sure your injectors are in and your spark plugs are in. Because if you drop something, this is not going to be fun to take it out. That's it now. Clean the head, put the cam back in, and restart it. When you do repairs like this, make sure you put some assembly loop all over the parts, so when you reassemble it you don't have any dry spots and you don't damage the camshafts and journals. Also, see, we replaced the gasket, we put a little bit of our high-tech gasket sealer in it. Now we clean the cam adjuster. There's a screen over here. These things tend to fall out. Make sure the screen is in there. Sometimes they fall out and get caught between the gasket and the tensioner. You will have a big oil leak if you do that. Make sure the screen is in there and make sure it's sitting properly. While we're washing the head, we kind of took our marks off. So we rotated the engine on the top dead center and we're gonna realign the tensioner by timing marks. Oh, not the tensioner, the camshafts.
16.
It's gotta be 16 links between the marks in the camshaft. I'm gonna show you how to put it on. Play around with the cam, put her in, make sure you, this is how we do it, we mark the chain first, just put the marked link right above the notch in the camshaft. The other side is going to be just past that, because the mark on the camshaft is going to be hitting right in between the wings, so this one's going to be, the exhaust is going to be just past the mark. Put the bolts into the tensioner. Don't tighten it yet. Put the cam caps in before you bolt down the tensioner, because while bolting down the tensioner you might damage it if the cam is not sitting properly. Make sure your seal and everything else aligns properly. We did not replace the seal because the seal is brand new. This head just came from the machine shop. These guys gave us a little present with this valve stem seal. So we're not gonna replace any cam seals or anything like that. If you're doing it on an old engine, of course replace the seals. Replace every gasket that you take off. Now the cam caps. Remember, the cam cap to the front of the motor is gonna be number 4, and this one's number 2. So the cam caps, the count of cam caps start from the back of the motor. For this front cam cap, it's gonna be sitting right over here. We use this Volvo sealant. This is a Volvo valve cover sealant. Basically dries up when it loses air. So we're gonna put a very thin layer of this thing on the cam cap to seal it from leaking oil. The sealant, very good. You only need a very thin layer of it. Make sure it doesn't get into these channels. These are all oil channels. If it clogs it up, it might start eating your journals. Yep. Okay, so start bolting the cam caps in. When you're bolting down the camshaft, do it evenly. Do not tighten one cap and then go to the next. Do all the bolts evenly so the camshaft goes down into its seats even. So the camshaft must be torqued down, 8 foot-pounds of torque. We got all the bolts in. We got this little preset torque wrench. It's set for 8 foot-pounds. The tensioner must be torqued down, same 8 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty much in this head, most of the stuff is 8 foot-pounds. Here you go, the cam is torqued down, the tensioner is torqued down. We took the tensioner tool out, don't forget to do that as well. And now it's time for a valve cover gasket to go back in. So put a little bit of a silicone at the corners. This is a Mercedes sealant, works very good, we'll have to use it. Here's somewhere part numbers over here. It's way better than regular off-the-shelf silicone. It's very expensive, but works way better. Okay, so we'll put the valve cover back on. Gotta torque the nuts, same 8 foot-pounds. When you're done, make sure this gasket sits in properly at all the edges. There by the tensioner in the front. And that's it. Put your coil packs back in. Well, we have to put the injectors back in, but put your coil packs and the spark plugs in and test it out.